This is day 630 of the Arukh HaShulchan Yomi. Today we're doing Siman. Shin Samech Vav Yud Ches Chav Dalet. This week's Arukh HaShulchan Yomi is sponsored for its chus for Refuah Shlema for Yonasan Ezra ben Chana Feigel. Should have a speedy Refuah Shlema. If you like to sponsor Arukh Mishir or more of the Arukh HaShulchan Yomi, please contact me directly. It'd be very greatly appreciated. Shin Samech Vav Yud Ches. When the people in the yard, when the people in the city, wants to give on his own the bread for everybody, which is frankly the case. When one person Mizaka the bread, Shabbatam it's good. It's a two-party process. You have to give it to somebody else and ask that person to be Zoich on behalf of the other people. You can't be Mizaka to somebody on your own. The whole chayvitz or shayach any object belongs to the person. You can't move it out to the reshus of somebody else until you move it out of your reshus. In other words, it has to be something where it's exiting your reshus to go to somebody else's reshus. When the other person acquires it, he lifts it up from the ground, at least the tefach. And when he takes it from the ground, based of the directive of the person who's being mizakeh, when he picks up from the table, he picks up tefach off of the table. And because them hand to hand, you have to be a yoda by your tefach. You have your hand in the air tefach. Mr. Bir says it's not necessarily true. If you're holding out the air, you don't necessarily have to pick it up, but we know by a chafna or somebody's a kabakini, we make him lift up the pen, a tefach in the air. By other kinyan, we need to three talking going to settle poskim. Much because Kashmir since Simon Kuf Tzariches, come by every Rabbanan can no less by every so the Rabbanan they lean one tefach enough. The lifting up doesn't have to be directly, but can be through his power, through his energy. Such as when it's on a shelf. And you lifted up you elbowed the shelf until it became uplifted a tefach. That's Hagbah. It works in pretty time. Moshe Baron Shem Sif Kesef, so you explained there. You also can bestow portions in the Eruv through a Kinyan Sudar, through the handkerchief Kinyan, the Kinyan Agav, and even by Kinyan Agav Karka, by being marked in Agav Karka to on the piggyback on the land, to whoever needs to acquire it, as is the case in all Kinyanim. So that the Zoicha has to acquire on behalf of all the members of the Chutz, all the members of the Mavi, all the members of the city, safe, everybody who it's on and on from here on in, right? Because the people in the city are constantly in flux. You can't ask hi, how can you be mazaka for the people coming in the future? They don't know anything about this. That's not a question. It came as chusulo. Since it's a merit for a person, they should have capacity to carry stuff on Shabbos. We can be mazaka to him, even though he is not in front of us, even though he's not aware of it. Some say shabi the favor shlem is last. Even though you don't say explicitly, you're mazaka to anybody who comes later on. Lay based in Maskalim. Lay based in Maskalim. Usually a concept by Kochim, but we have other places in Shas as well. That the based in intrinsically stipulates that, even though it's not stipulated outright. As Shubikla, they should be included in the Eruv. Mr. Bura says that this is a abbreviated language. It means that in our day, that we put Eruv for the entire year, we assume that our intent was for all the people who come afterwards during the course of the year. Back to Arukh HaShulchan, if those additional people come on board after the Eruv no longer is the right shear, The Yeshua Koidmim answer Losif that even though for the ones who were there previously, you don't have to add anymore. The Shira Ev Dai B'Choshu, even though you have to start with certain shear, 18 gross is the shear, maximum shear. But as long as something's left over, that's sufficient. But for the new people, you have to add. That's why my B'Tchila say means my for them it's the beginning of the Erev when they've been added on after Erev is diminished in size. So if you have maximum shear for the Erev the whole time, you're okay. But it got diminished, and when new people come, you have to add on for them. Back to the bracket. Sorry, nearly the Bishvil Eved Nishtachra. What about a slave went free? Kutish is got a non-Jew converted. Eno Yochol is Koshi Tavsu. You can't be Mazak that when they come in, they're going to be part of the Erev. The Haim Kedav Shalom, they're not relevant to Erev right now. They're not Torah's Erev. So therefore, it's like Dav Shalom. The Guvachina Ninu, they're going to be a different body later on. Maybe based on what it says there in places that that he doesn't say what they say over there. I don't know what, but I think that I think there's a source to say that this whole procedure is Rabbanan, and they were lenient to just be to have the format of the procedure, not necessarily be precisely halachically effective. And he says, if a child grew in the course of the year to adulthood, so obviously he's now included in the Eruv. Chaf. The bread has to leave the jurisdiction of the original owner. So therefore, when you're bestowing ownership for other people, you can't do it by a person whose hand is like the hand of the original owner. In other words, somebody is under his jurisdiction. You can't raise the Kamzaka de Atzmo, because then it's like being Mazaka from one hand to the other hand, and that's another person. But anymore, it's not effective. He can't make the Schia by his son and daughter who are minors. I feel even he doesn't support them, even they don't live at home. Because their hand is like his hand. Also not by his non-Jewish slaves, servants. It's the same principle. But you can do the schia by your son and daughter who are adults, even though they still eat on your table. Even though that if they found a lost object under those conditions, that give it to their father. But it's only because we're afraid otherwise the father will come to hate them and won't give them any food. But that's only an extrinsic rabbanon. Doesn't mean that their hand is subsumed in his hand. Therefore now he wants them. He for other people. They can do it. So too with a slave who is a Jew, even when they're minors, their hands is not his hand. You can't ask how can a minor acquire on behalf of other people. But Tshuva, the answer is the Raisa. You're right. The Raisa, Katan does not have a hand to have jurisdiction to be Zoicha for somebody else. Definitely true. We're kidding. But Miyad Rabbanan, sorry. The Rabbanan come over Eruv, pick the Rabbanan come over Eruv, the Rabbinic halachas. Like here, Gachel is close by the he can. Kind of Vorba Gittin, Laz is explaining the Sechas Gittin. V'chein Yochel at least goes to the Ishto. You go to do the scheme for your wife. Apapi, even though you support her, you give her food. Because even though the hand of a wife is like the hand of her husband, nevertheless came the time of I'm not saying about Rishus, but if somebody gave her a gift with a stated express, I'm giving this to you in order that your husband should not have any jurisdiction over it. Mahani, it works. The compost composers have no as their Simon Pehe. It works in several poskim. Thanks to Mazaka Yoda, so everyone made Mazaka through her. Have it so she takes him in Shuso. She has her own Rishus. It's not completely subsumed in her husband's jurisdiction, because otherwise it couldn't be she couldn't own something which does not shaykh to her husband. But since she can, so therefore indicates that she has her own rishus. So abi she ain't la bias, but even though she doesn't have a house in that kotzer, which normally she'd have to have in order to make a kinyan, part of other people, she'd have to have her own house, but it doesn't matter. Another person with whom he's being mizaka might have to have a house, but not her. Abi she ain't la bias kotzer mani. He says in the bracket, "Tzorchel might have no katan, garmi shar katan." His own son who's a katan is different than another katan. Because he is bonded to the father. So, in other words, it's not really shaykh looking at him separate shus. But you show me Erevin Berg Zion. Look above. The Chayk ben Yeshbo Das Rainbow distinguishes between whether he has das, he has the acumen of an adult or not. Ayin Shamduk. Chafa v'chosa das around Berg Av Erevin. That's all according to Rambam. Adas Rabbeinu Tam, but places the din zekamov Metzia. And log is the same log as by Metzia. B'nog bito agdolim asmucha shulchan aviyem. And the adult children who are eating at their father's table, you can't use them to bestow the rights on the Eruv for somebody else. And but for his daughter also, he can't be mazaketer through her as long as she's not 12 and a half. Even if she's not eating at his table. Came into Torah Hamido, because the Torah put her in the jurisdiction of her father for kiddush and other things, so therefore she doesn't have a separate yad. Also, not by his wife, even if she's independent, according to the Tosis, in that no, sorry, to his wife, to whom he gives food, and even if he does give food, but he said, "Go support yourself." If he yesh labayis l'chotzer, and even if she has the chotzer in the house, you can't make the eruv to her. But mishul kamen sin shinai, and again, according to this Tosis, not the Rambam, the Enchicha, because she's subsuming her husband. Bias l'chotzer, she doesn't need to have her own bias l'chotzer. L'chen ein zemoil, and therefore it's not effective. Because it's about small, if when she had another house in the chotzer, she'd have to make her own eruv. I might say Michal the Zachtel Nafshel, since she needs it for herself, so she can also make it for others. But since she doesn't need her own eruv, it doesn't work at all. It's certainly true that he doesn't have a house in the chotzer. When she doesn't have a house in the chotzer, that she considered being acher. But another person, not a relative, who's eating at the person's house, you can bestow the eruv on his through him. Grandchildren are like children for this purpose. Because he can be mazaket through them, even if they're eating by the grandfather's table. Because their hand is not under his jurisdiction whatsoever. It's best to take into account the chumas of both opinions. On them, but you have it somewhat different make up air, but the you have to rely on those are the more lenient opinion when it comes to air. Excuse me. And so to an adult who has a wife, and he and his wife are being supported by his father, they can be mazaket through him. Even before the fact, even deliberately. Zonam aidei apiyus chavus. When they're being supported by some sort of obligation, I guess in the ksuba the time. The guy mitzia him shalo chaygavna, because since he's required to do so, also by mitzia, it doesn't belong to him. But doesn't belong to the father. Only by a cotton doesn't belong to the father. or by Smuchel Shulchan Aviv, who's a katan. But here we're saying even a gadol. Right. The guy Mitzvah Einam Shalom. By God, it's okay because just like the father doesn't get, he doesn't get the Mitzvah. So to here, yeah, that's a Mitzvah. Also, there's separate rishus here. The father, the son and his wife were Smuchel Shulchan, because they're not really Smuchel Shulchan. They're contractually obliged to get mizanos. So it's nice to be Smuchel Shulchan. So then, it depends if the contract is still in effect. So that's one thing. But if the contract is ended and he's still sustaining them, mitzvahs and shalom. He's not doing it based on a contractual basis. Therefore, they gave him reward him with getting to keep the mitzvahs, things that he finds. So according to Rabbeinu Tam, that if it's after his money's chayvus and he's still supporting his table, the mitzvah belongs to the husband and therefore to the father, and therefore you can't be mazakin erev through them. We don't chatchila is kayadam, but according to us, since even though we have a Rambam, the chatchila shouldn't be mazakin through them since it's not clear what their status is. But then you should know that shemzakin be'eruv when you bestow an eruv on somebody, ain't so called the shcheni koyim Shabbos. Don't tell neighbors for Shabbos. But Shabbos good enough to them on Shabbos. You can bestow merit on a person even if he's not around, if he doesn't know. Shmodim will turn the Talib Shabbos, and they find on Shabbos, Gabaldik, they can carry on Shabbos. V'avshem loyal to Bechnis Shabbos, even though they themselves not know about this when Shabbos began. V'loyal b'taitam lasso smokem adira shram. They didn't have in mind to make it a place for habitation there. Come nevertheless dovas and yicholem. It's clear to us that they'd be happy with this. Gam erev Shabbos, even done for erev Shabbos. Masket datayu, and they actually have in mind. They think, okay, somebody's going to make an air for them. They of course want the Makam Dir to be in the Makam Eruv. Okay, it's a little bit difficult, but he says the brackets came with you're compelled to say this is the opinion of the Ramah. Okay, Chav Gimel. People of a group were at a meal. And became Shabbos in the middle of the meal. And he used the bread in the middle of the table as an Eruv. That's the only place that you can put an Eruv. I'm assuming Chatzah there in the courtyard where you can't put an Eruv low, it's not good enough. He needs to Bagamara of Paiskin. And move on. What's the Chiddush in this? Says those say that feel a passage about bias. If the bread exclusively belongs to the owner of the house. Once it's put on the table where everybody has access to it, it's held in common. They gave them explicitly. Oh, that's the taste of Shabbos. Or Hashem says it's not like this. Lonely hero. By definition means that they sat together in order to eat. The Ramah writes if they have a piece of bread done jointly, or the house is, you can line it as an about Kalashona. So you see explicitly, each person has a chelik in this Eruv. When at another person's table, getting permission to make an Eruv. You will only get permission to eat what they can eat, and not more. In other words, he's asking a question now. I'm not sure, more than a question. Yeah, because he's asking the Ramah. The Ramah said, "Yeah, bread and truthfulness anywhere in the houses, it's good enough." So they asked, "What do you mean, right? If they're all on the same, if they're all on the same table, who gave them permission to make an eruv? They're only eating what they were told they could eat and not more." Don't think what's the bread is not table belongs to everybody. You're not allowed to give to the son and daughter of the Baal Bayis. ואין אמס לשאול שטוב את הכוס המגמיש פרקב דיוטשם ברשב"א כוס השרם מן הפרשקה. This one doesn't hold this way. Rashba needs to לדחוק, but according to Rashi, you have to compel to say, "Lomad the environment today, uvad in yichel ba'abayis." The person mitzvah in the eruv definitely is having agreeable with ba'abayis to so therefore it's like automatic assumption shus. So it's going to taste as a chiddush. Chiddush is that in this case you understand that it's allowed, even though it's not allowed in the other case. It's not a case where they all on together. My case is summer, whatever. אבל הר"ם יש לנו הרבוס בזה. וכל הר"ם have to understand the chiddush. Seems to be partial. He doesn't put limitations on who could do the eruv. It seems like this is the shot. The game of the base, Kiddush, since at the time of Kiddush Yom, the tribes again, Yoshu Kulam Echad sat in one room. For Yoshu Champasho Kulam, there was on the table everybody's bread. Zeo Atzmo Erev, this is itself the Erev Ava P. Shaloi Nicho Erev Perish, even though they make an explicit Erev. Zeo Lashon Something, that's what it means, Lashon to read lie. Kamar Shaydeh, Zebuvad, something, lie this itself. Sheikha Kniyas Erev, Masha Domin Beyach, because the primary acquisition of Erev is how you live together. Vika Kniyas Erev, and the primary acquisition of Erev, we can not the Shabbos when Shabbos begins. Hagei Dorim, Pushon Ba'isai, and they lived there at that time. Rabbi Mashman Rabusi Yosef, Ramah telling us even Chiddush. Big Chiddush. Which was a different shot here, but the Ramah, this is the Arukh HaShulchan. I feel low about some Yachid, even though we're not all together. Rak Pashilam, but their bread was together in one room. God can talk about we learned this as well. And tell us, hey, we don't make an explicit Eruv. Mizer Raglo Mash Kasavnu, B'Sif Yudbeis Ayin Sham, Avishalo, Bircha Bracha, even though they make a bracha in the Eruv, behind a bracha is makvos. Bracha is not intrinsically necessary. And also in this case, doesn't need a bracha to make that Eruv. Why not? Oh, because they're not putting out an Eruv specifically. There's something that's already there. So the bracha's not shot. Bracha's doing something with scratch, but not where you're relying on something which is already there.